So welcome back to another tactical video, and in this one we're gonna talk about Sassuolo. This is the formation I've set up, which is the basis for a good and balanced tactics that you can use with this team. It's a very flexible formation that you can adapt according to the game you're playing and the players you have available. And you can do this variation, or you can do a variation where you pull your wide midfielders back to form a back five with attacking fullbacks instead. And the key points with this formation is that you're going to be able to use Berardi as kind of a number 10 playmaker, as the supporting striker next to the goal scoring striker. And you will be able to use Locatelli as a deep lying playmaker. He can roam around in the midfield there, and he can spread passes either forward toward Berardi or out on the wing. Let's take a look at the instructions here. So this is how you set it up. It's gonna be possession game attacking style, short pass build up. You're gonna attack in the middle with flexible positioning, and you're gonna have a support range of 1. And for the defensive instructions, it's gonna be a defensive style of all-out defense. You're gonna contain in the middle. You're gonna have aggressive pressuring. You're gonna have a defensive line of 4 with a compactness of 6. And for the advanced instructions, the only thing I activated with this variation of the tactic is the wing back to get your wide midfielders back to help out in defense. If you go with the 5 backline using 2 fullbacks instead of wide midfielders, you should turn wingback off and instead activate attacking fullback as one of the attacking advanced instructions. So basically you play up the middle here, right? Because you have your playmakers in the middle. You have Locatelli in the midfield. You have Berardi up front. And Berardi will come back and almost act like an attacking midfielder sometimes. So he will come back to look for the ball. So if you pass it to him, he will inspire some movement around him. And when you play out from the back, you should try to involve Ayhan. He's the best passing center back on the team, and you will be able to hit some passes with him. And in the back 3, you actually have pretty good depth. You can start these 3 if you want to. You also have some depth on the bench. You could start Marlon, Romagna and Peluso. So they are pretty solid, and that will give you some defensive stability depending on what kind of condition the players will have from game to game. And then in the midfield, you want to try to start Locatelli as much as possible. But if he can't start, backup for him is Maxime Lopez, who also is an orchestrator and he has some good passing stats. He's not as good defensively and overall, but he's a decent backup. And next to him, I prefer to have a box-to-box, which is why I chose to go with Pedro Obiang. And you also could do Traoré there, but the reason I started Obiang is because of his passing stats, and he's also pretty good defensively. So he's a pretty solid two-way player, which gives you a little bit more stability than Traoré. And then as the attacking midfielder, I've chosen to go with Jurisic as the starting attacking midfielder. He's a dummy runner, he will make some runs. You could also do Traoré there, or you could do Jeremy Boga if you want a whole player in there instead. But I've chosen to start Boga on the left side, and that's basically because there isn't that many options the left midfielder, unless you want to go with a fullback as the wide midfielder. He will then be a little bit out of position, right? So I think it's better to start with Boga, and then you can swap on some defensive-minded players like late in the game if you want to try to conserve your lead. And then you can switch it to the 5 backline, right? But I'm gonna start with Boga there, and he's a whole player, and he has decent speed, he can dribble a little bit, so you can do some moves with him on the wing. Then on the opposite side, on the right midfield, I've chosen to start Bourabia. You don't have a lot of options here either, but I think maybe this is the weakest position on the team. But the reason I chose Bourabia is basically because right midfield is one of his main positions. If you want to play a little bit more defensively and you don't want to start Bourabia there, obviously you could pull your wide midfielders back and go with a 5 backline from the start, right? And you can start your fullbacks in their original positions But I wanted to do like a 4 midfield. I went with Borabia. You can also do Traoré there. And up front, next to Berardi, you're gonna have Caputo. And Caputo should start instead of De Frel. And the reason for that is Caputo is a little bit better overall. And he can also be the captain. And De Frel has the super sub trait, which makes him useful off the bench, right? No reason to start him. So you could do De Frel as a substitute later in the game if Caputo gets tired, or if you want to have someone up front with a little bit more speed. So that's basically it. You attack passing short up the middle. You're not relying too much on counters or anything like that. You can have some counterplay in the right opportunities, right? Because you can win the ball high and you can go on some quick counters, and you have players who will make runs. You have Jurisic who will make runs, you have Boga who will make runs, and also Caputo will make some runs, and you have Berardi up there who can make the killer pass. So that's it for these tactical videos. I hope you enjoyed it, and what do you think about these tactics? Have you been playing with Sassuolo, and what kind of formation are you using? What are your experiences playing this team? Love to hear about it in the comments. And I want to thank you so much for watching. Have fun while playing. I will see you guys in the next one.